I think I may be a little too obsessed with nostalgia sometimes. I'm sure a lot of you watching are like, yeah, no duh, Dawn. Have you seen your videos? Which is true. A lot of topics and talking points I've made have been directly about my childhood in some way. I'd say most have, actually. Part of me believes it's just my personality. I like to reminisce, which is probably part of it, but I can't deny that it goes far enough to be maybe unhealthy a bit. I tend to obsess over finding ways to just teleport myself back to my childhood, things that trigger some part of my brain the same way it did when I was a kid, and only when I was a kid, to a point where it almost feels desperate. I will literally watch commercial compilations from my childhood for fun, just to feel a strong sense of reminiscence. And while it's fine and innocent to indulge in a bit of nostalgia like that, it's not fine when it causes me so many feelings of longing. A sort of sad and wistful feeling where I just wish I was back then. Wish I could make different decisions in that little life I was living, re-experiencing those innocent times where things felt nicer, softer, and easier. And this is obviously natural for any human being. We all love and appreciate our childhoods, and things we experienced and loved as kids are comforting to go back to. But there's a point where it feels as if I'm not able to let go and live in the present. And maybe that's because the present is just too difficult to live in these days. I don't want to face it head on. So I cling to the past, a time where it was a lot easier to face head on. But that won't change the fact that the present day is happening, and reality is reality. I need to move on, and learn to face it, and even enjoy it. But how do I even begin to do that? My past feels too integral to everything I enjoy. It almost feels as happiness only existed back then. Only yesterday. So, I saw this movie the other day. A few nights ago, my girlfriend and I watched Only Yesterday, a Ghibli film I had been told about and very much recommended to watch. The only thing I had heard about it was that it was a more down-to-earth story, similar to something like Whisper of the Heart, which is like my favorite movie ever, which I made a whole video on, which you should totally watch, just saying. But upon those recommendations, my interest was very much piqued. And yeah, recommenders be right. I really, really liked it. It's been a while since there's been a movie I feel I needed to see like this one. After some time, this film has still not left my head. Everything it was trying to say felt so very personally relatable, almost to a scarily accurate degree. It's like the universe was giving me this movie to reflect on feelings that have been plaguing me for a while now, and it's just a really, really good film in its own right. Super, super unique for not only a Ghibli film, but definitely as an animated film in general. Is that just a thing with the 90s Ghibli films? Are they all just super, super good? So Omohide Poro Poro, localized to Only Yesterday, is a film about a 27-year-old girl named Taiko. She's living her best life, totally, in Tokyo working a 9-to-5 classic Japanese office job, and has a really, really wonderful little 1983 adorned apartment. God, I wish I lived here. Taiko has always dreamed of being able to visit the countryside, but her family has always lived in Tokyo. But now as an adult, she offers to help out her brother-in-law's family farm out in Yamagata, which is truly in the boonies of Japan. Throughout her journey and time there, she's constantly reminiscing about her life in 1966 as a 5th grader, all the little moments that stuck with her, and for some odd reason, at this very moment, they seem louder and more relevant than ever. So the story is about her coming to terms with what these memories are trying to tell her about her life and how to live it. If it wasn't super obvious from the intro, this premise alone is ridiculously relatable to me, and the story as a whole sometimes feels as if it's talking to my current day self directly, on so many levels, and has had me reflecting so introspectively. And while it's been healthy reflecting, it's also been a little eye-opening on how reliant I am on the past, and has opened my eyes to why exactly that may be in my current day self. The movie is split into 2 distinct time eras, the current year of 1982 and 16 years prior in 1966 through the lens of Taiko's memories of her 10-year-old self. There's a lot of nuance to the way they depict these 2 time eras. For one, it's probably pretty obvious, but the past has a much softer tone. It uses a lot less saturated colors, a way more generous use of warmer tones like reds, pinks, and yellows, and the border has this whimsical white vignette around it. Plus, everything is drawn just a little bit more fantastical. Characters feel more simplified and stylized, as if they're just caricatures of what they actually actually looked like, and the expressions are animated to be way more exaggerated. Obviously, this is all being compared to how they portray the present day, which is a lot more detailed and meticulous. Less empty space. Whether it's the city or the countryside, there's always a lot of clutter with a lot of things going on. The colors are a lot less warm, using a lot of generous amounts of blue and green. Even Taiko herself matches this color consistency. As a kid, she's always dressed in red, but that color is distinctly missing from her palette as an adult. Everything is drawn with a heavier mindset of reality in mind. Things are more and feel more grounded. The way the characters are drawn is so much more realistic, with very real depictions of actual mannerisms and expressions. Seriously, this may be one of my new all-time favorite examples of how to animate character acting. It all feels so deliberate and precise, which in turn totally applies to the themes and message of the film as a whole. The characters all have this level of realism in their faces that really isn't present in a lot of other Ghibli films, or even like anime in general. Taiko herself has a really cute smile with super pronounced dimples. I saw this Reddit post where people were complaining about how creepy these characters looked when they smiled. Yeah, I don't see it. It's definitely more realistic compared to the generic anime film, but that makes it insanely charming, especially with the kind of story they're trying to tell. Not to be pretentious, but if your takeaway that the more grounded, realistic approach to how they depict people in the present is creepy, I think maybe some of the story went over your head. Anyways, yeah, the art style and deliberate choices made to depict these two time eras is genius, to say the least. My favorite part has to be that kind of slightly cartoony angle everything has in the past. It's so clever and so subtle. A very good depiction of how our minds tend to convey these kind of childhood events, without being too corny or over the top. I'm sure I will continue to discover clever ways the animators took advantage of this storytelling every time I rewatch this film, which I'm sure will happen sooner than later. But what is this intense juxtaposition trying to convey story-wise? Why is childhood depicted like this? Why are Taiko's memories so flowery at this point in her life? Well, 27 is a very strange age to be a human being at. In a lot of ways, you're not a young adult anymore. You've been experiencing adult life for nearly a decade at this point, but it's hard to feel as if you're settled as an adult either. It feels as if the point where you will or should be settling is sneaking closer and closer. It feels as if you're becoming an age where you don't want to have to keep second-guessing life choices you make. You want to be fulfilled and satisfied with the path you've chosen to take. You're in that metamorphosis stage before becoming a butterfly, but you want to make sure you're satisfied with the butterfly you become. But this isn't the only time a human will go through a metamorphosis. It happens many times throughout our lives. Moments where we feel decisions and experiences we have heavily influence how and what we choose to become. That's why I think Taiko's 5th grade self is such an apt self-reflection of her current situation. 10 years old, especially for a girl, and especially in Japan, tends to feel like the butt end of those pure childhood experiences. Cute, simple crushes on your classmates, experiencing silly little things like trying pineapple for the first time, but once you hit preteen, things like school seem to be more important. Grades feel like they have a bigger impact on your future, especially in Japan. Relationships suddenly feel more dramatic. Having a crush on a classmate doesn't feel as flowery and innocent anymore, and your body starts changing in ways that affect your entire personality and image. And while there's still a sense of childhood freedom after this, I'd argue right before your adolescence is when moments in your life start to feel like they have a domino effect to your future's personality, making those distinct memories of that specific time in your childhood even more potent. I think most of those experiences exist in middle school for me. A lot of the strongest personality-defining memories come from that era of my life. To this day, whenever I have a dream involving a school in any capacity, it always takes place in my middle school building. It's the only reason I remember the layout of that place like the back of my hand, which I'm assuming isn't just a coincidence. It was the era of my childhood that defined who I am in a lot of ways. And this era in Taiko's life is perfectly complementary to her situation in her current life. Her trip to the countryside sparks a change in her perspective in life that feels as if she's having another metamorphosis, that she's understanding the butterfly she wants to become all over again. And it's something that she doesn't realize at first. She believes this is just a trip to get away from the city life for a few days, but her 5th grade memories are accompanying her for some reason, to remind her of those feelings and moments in her life where she went through change, both good and bad, making the decision of committing to these changes feel more familiar and comfortable. her past experiences helping guide her to where she wants and needs to be in her life to be happy. It is an insanely beautiful message for a film, and obviously the way it's all portrayed is just also so beautiful. I love how gentle this movie is. They depict so many aspects of life with so much tact and patience. There's a really wonderful sequence where Taiko is recalling moments in her childhood where she discovered the wonderful world of menstrual cycles. In so many other pieces of media, this sort of talk can either be way too passive or way too heavy-handed, but this movie talks about it in such a unique and relatable way. This isn't recalling Taiko's first experience getting her period, just her learning about the concept and the boys in her class embarrassing her about it. The one girl in her class she talks to who is having it for the first time has a very healthy and positive mindset regarding it, which in turn helps Taiko feel a lot more confident about it. It's just really nice to see a movie, especially an animated one from the early 90s, discuss this kind of topic with so much grace. Apparently Disney never wanted to localize this movie because of this scene. Good job, Disney. A very classy look as always. Taiko has a bit more of a dysfunctional family dynamic, and it's handled with a lot of care too. A lot of very realistically depicted disagreements and struggles, and while this is an aspect of her childhood, I was really happy it wasn't revolved around just one thing. The movie isn't simply about her growing up within this family or finding out what a period is. It's a lot of little memories, loosely connected, just trying to reinforce that idea that this was a transformative part of her upbringing. They honestly could have shown any moment from her childhood. Just the fact that she's reflecting on it during this transformative moment in her adult life gives it merit as being important. It makes for a strong sense of nostalgia depicted within these memories, not just flashbacks, but true recounts and reflections of the past, much more realistic to how our own brains process and display memories, I feel, which is just so impressive on both a writing and art level. A movie that is able to distinctly depict the idea of memories and nostalgia is insane to me. But this movie does it really, really well, better than I think I've seen any movie handle it, which has played a role in this movie sticking with me so much. These memories feel so different than my own, obviously, but depicted so similarly. The way the movie refers to her younger self as trying to tell her something has been something that I have been thinking and musing about for so long now. What is my constant interest and obsession with my childhood trying to tell me? Why am I relying on it so much recently? Is there a reason I'm finding comfort and happiness in this nostalgia? I think this movie has helped me understand this a bit better. My life has been a roller coaster of changes in the past few years. Not only have I moved out of my parents' place, but I've been working for myself doing freelance art for nearly 3 years now, which is when I think a lot of my interests in my past started. My life suddenly felt a lot less shackled. I don't feel as if I just need to do or be one thing, that my talents don't railroad me like I used to think they did. And this is a great feeling in some ways, but it's also a very daunting feeling in other ways. What do I do with this personal freedom? Am I making the correct decisions? I always find ways to express myself, but there is an uncertainty that can be hard, to say the least. I find this relates very well to Taiko's situation. Her being in the countryside suddenly opens her eyes up to what she appreciates in life. Her perspective is changing, and she's understanding how to be happy, how to fulfill her own life. And this is when her 5th grade reflections are most potent, at a time where this sort of freedom and understanding was coming to a head. Maybe that's why I spent so much time reflecting as well, indulging in these past experiences and memories to find some kind of answer, find a direction. It's trying to guide me to where I need to be happy. Unfortunately for me, I don't think mine is as simple as Taiko's direction, and who knows how long that process will be, and who knows if or when I find that direction, I'll even be aware that I'm finding it. If anything, this film has helped me put these things into perspective, to feel less alone about them. I've always felt a little guilty that I rely so heavily on the past, that I'm not doing myself any favors. It can feel as if I'm only dwelling on the past, or that I'm simply wishing to be young again. But I know for a fact that isn't true. Sure, getting older isn't exactly a pleasant concept, but I understand and appreciate that we're always evolving creatures, that I can learn and appreciate new aspects of life every day. Maybe that's why I both want to keep value in my past, but don't want to rely on it at the same time. I don't want those memories to go to waste. I want them to mean something and keep me going forward. And this movie has shown that there's a lot of value in that mindset, which has been really comforting. But at the same time, this movie has also helped me be a bit more aware of how reliant I am on these memories. It's shown me that the new experiences and changes we go through are even more important than anything that's happened in the past, and even to embrace lifestyle changes that will potentially make me happier in my life, all while being accompanied by that very soft and comforting nostalgia. I'm very, very happy I watched this movie. I'm not sure how well I'm conveying it, but it has spoken to me on a level I haven't had with a piece of media in a while. It helps the movie is also just a good movie in general. It's a little unorthodox in terms of pacing and tone, but it still has a lot of really charming characters and moments, while being drop-dead gorgeous, like, oh my god. I said similar things about Whisper of the Heart, but the hand-painted backgrounds in this film are just out of this world. If Whisper of the Heart was trying to ooze beauty in suburban life, this movie is oozing beauty in its mountainous countryside life. And they know when to linger on them and know exactly how long it will take to stick with you. It's just masterfully done. The music is also incredible. The main theme of this film is a really somber piano solo, and it's just super powerful. Its use of traditional Hungarian music really helps sell the down-to-the-soil kind of lifestyle these farmers live, and the ending song gives off very similar vibes to Country Roads and Whisper of the Heart, which, if you recall, I thought was incredibly emotional. And yeah, this one is too. Surprise. And of course, the animation is just so good. That almost goes without saying. But I do really like all the little details that went into the animation. Like I said earlier, with the movie being like a prime example of character acting, it's just incredible. If it isn't obvious, I highly recommend this movie. Even if you don't relate to it on the level I did, I think it's just a really cool movie with a lot of heart and soul put into it. Weirdly enough, this movie is based on a manga of the same name, similar to Whisper of the Heart. Also similar to Whisper of the Heart, it's sort of just a story inspired by the original manga rather than an adaptation. The manga is just about the quirky life of a 10-year-old girl in 1966, narrated by their older self. All the same characters, but obviously had to be developed a bit more to make a proper movie plot. While cute, this is mostly just a funny gag manga. And I did say seems, because sadly there's never been an official localization, and fans have only translated like 3 chapters, until literally 9 days ago. What? Yeah, someone is currently continuing the localization. Like, what the hell are the odds of that? Lots of serendipitous circumstances with me in this movie, I swear. More evidence this movie exists in my life as fate or something. In one other weird anecdote, this movie took a while to be officially dubbed. As I mentioned earlier, Disney wasn't exactly interested in localizing this, so it wasn't until 2016 that we got a dub, nearly 25 years later. The dub is the version that I watched, and it's okay. It's not bad, but this movie just works infinitely better in Japanese in my opinion. All those praises to the characters' mannerisms and quirks being conveyed through the art really only work as well as they do with the original Japanese voice cast. And if you have a tiny attention span for subs like I do, don't worry, this movie is not very talkative, so it doesn't require a ton of that kind of attention luckily. Either way, please watch it if you get a chance, and let me know if you do. It's criminally underrated, probably one of the most underrated Ghibli movies, if not the most underrated Ghibli movie. I have never heard anything about this movie before the other day, even compared to like Whisper of the Heart. But it has such an introspective story that's so easily applicable to any adult going through this thing called life. Hopefully you enjoyed this sort of weird musing type script for this video. I just really wanted to talk about this. It's been on my mind a lot, and the movie's really good, so until next time.